Buffy, Bank of America, and Hamilton. If these words make sense to you, you gave me a napkin with a note written at the bar. I lost the note. Or, I was driving southbound on Highland in a Toyota Prius. You looked like you had just finished working out. Our eyes met and you gave a nod. Shot in the dark? Or, saw you at the cheese shop on Montana. You had the cutest dog, Molly. I was blonde with blue shirt and blue eyes. I wanted to talk more. I don't think there is a single New Yorker of a certain age, and I was one, who did not peruse the back of the Village Voice, wondering if one of the many missed connections posted there was about you. Now, today, the internet has taken up the mantle with thousands of posts daily from cities around the world. They are records of momentary encounters, waitresses longing for patrons, customers lusting after shop clerks, and subway passengers pining away for one another, all made in the hopes of finding more, finding a bond, perhaps linking lives. So imagine this one. We were brothers. I was supposed to protect you. I didn't. Sorry about the knife. Wandering now, people know me by my mark. If our Jewish tradition is replete with stories of misconnections, perhaps the first of them is the story of Cain and Abel. This story appears quite suddenly, it seems, after the idyllic vision of the Garden of Eden. Our Torah moves from perfection, from paradise, to brokenness, anger, and division. In other words, we are moving from the divine realm into the human. Cain is jealous of his brother, he feels unseen and underappreciated, and in a single capricious act of violence, kills him. And in return, Cain is punished, not with death or with prison, but destined to wander the world alone, marked forever and devoid of human connection. Did he become a leper, our rabbis wonder, or an outcast, marked so that people would specifically avoid him? Or was it more like a Harry Potter situation, marked forever with some sort of special protection or special strength? No, the rabbis say, it was simpler than that, more elemental. It was, we are taught, a single letter, vav, the Hebrew word for and. Cain was marked with the word and on his forehead, a declaration of all that was unrealized and missing in his life, and maybe in ours, the missed connections that can make us whole. On the night I was installed at Congregation Road of Sholem, my mentor, Rabbi Elke Abrahamson, taught this text. She said, simply stated, Cain failed to cherish his connectedness. He roamed the earth announcing with the shortest of words seared above his brow that a sacred, meaningful life is lived in relationship with others, with the divine, with the universe. This is the story Cain told with that mark. Human beings thrive by living with others in partnership. You and your brothers, and your sisters, you and your family, you and your community, you and your God. Cain wanders the earth forever a missed connection. So some pessimists see those online message boards as a repository for regret. But optimists might see them as an opportunity for second chances, a way to find connections in an increasingly lonely world. And isn't that why we're here? During these high holy days, perhaps especially this year in these extraordinarily charged times, we are called again to mend our misconnections, to find our inner and wear it out into the world. 10 days ago, we began that work with the word hineni, here I am. Here I am, vulnerable, open, standing before myself and my community and my God honestly. Each of us was asked to stand that night and stand this night, in these days, in all of our fullness, our flaws and our strengths, our successes and our failures, our hopes and our fears. Tonight we stood for Kol Nidre, for the prayer of broken promises, a prayer that requires permission. We ask permission to pray with the Avarionim, those who have transgressed, those who have missed the mark, those who have missed connections. We ask permission to pray with our community and our loved ones. We ask permission to pray with ourselves. So just as we did as these high holy days began, we are asked to stand this night, this day, and say, "Behold, I have come, in all of my complexity, in all of my facets. Behold, I have come in all of my messiness and all of my beauty. Behold, I have come in all that I am and in all that I hope to be." So if we did that, what would we look like? Who would we be? A frazzled and present parent? A flawed and connected spouse? A frustrated and devoted child? Can't we be all of these things? Shouldn't we be all of these things? 140 characters. That is all the space that one gets on Twitter. 140 characters or less to define oneself. Rabbi, teacher, working mom, learner, wife, spin class connoisseur, friend, shoeholic, daughter, thinker, wannabe wanderer, aspiring epicure, seeker. As an avid user and consumer of social media, I agonized over my Twitter profile. Do I try to sound cool or honest? If I include this, does it preclude that? If I say this, can I not say that? As soon as I hit enter, as soon as it was out there in the world, I could only see what wasn't there. But what about New Yorker? What about feminist? What about doubter, wonderer, worrier? How do I wondered, sum myself up in 140 characters? How does anyone? And yet we do, over and over again. Because we live in a time now of bite-sized information. There's no room in this world for and. If it can't fit in a tweet or a text or a TV soundbite, we don't have the time or space for it. And what it means is that we are all reduced in some way to our smallest adjectives. Our world today assumes a simplistic, unilateral identity. You are Jewish, or a feminist, or conservative, or. We have left no room, it seems, for the complexities, for the ands with which all of us live. To be a scientist and a person of faith. To be a progressive and a Zionist. To be Black and Jewish, queer and Jewish, to find all of the misconnections in ourselves. In a classic teaching about these high holy days, Rabbi Simcha Bonham, a Hasidic teacher, suggests that each of us ought to walk through the world with 2 slips of paper in our pockets. In one pocket, he teaches, we should carry the words, Bishvili nivra ha'olam, for my sake the world was created. And in the other, Va'anochi afar va'efer, and I am but dust and ashes. It's most often presented as a text about humility, as a reminder to know and acknowledge our place in the world. But tonight, I want to suggest that it's also about living in paradox and as paradox. It's about acknowledging that we are powerful and powerless. We are mighty and weak. We are central and peripheral. We are and. Anyone here who has ever taken an improv class or suffered through an awkward social mixer has probably encountered the yes and game. All the participants sit in a circle and build a story one sentence at a time. The only rule, each sentence has to build on the one that came before, and each sentence must begin with yes, and. So Kelly Leonard, an executive at Second City, explains that what you learn about improv when you apply yes and is that there is a bounty of ideas, way more than will ever get used. When you say yes and, he explains, you're dealing with an abundance of possibilities. The concept has caught on, and the business world is now full of research and articles about how this technique can open up management skills or negotiations and more. Karen Howe, an improv teacher turned management consultant, explains that the yes but is a torpedo. Yes, I love that idea, but it'll never work. You feel not only denied, but also patronized. In contrast, she says, when you apply yes and, people feel heard, valued, and supported. It can create collaboration in times of conflict and engagement in times of trouble. So if yes and can do that in business, imagine its power in yourself. Imagine in this community. What if we could look at ourselves and say yes and? One of my teachers, Rabbi Shai Held, has written profoundly about the ways that chronic illness has shaped his life and teaching. Recently, he wrote the following: "Life is complex and often contradictory, and the religious life invites us to learn to hold seemingly antithetical truths and experiences simultaneously. The example I return to again and again is the capacity to hold gratitude and disappointment in one's heart at one and the same time. Many of our lives are filled with blessing and also with profound suffering. The truth of one does not cancel out the truth of another. We learn, haltingly, non-linearly, to hold both this and that. I am unemployed, and I am resourceful, competent, a contributor. I am in treatment, and I am a parent, a friend, a spouse, a life. I am single, and I am connected, important, belonging. Hineni, here I am. What if you could look at your partner, your husband, your wife, your child, your parent, and say yes, 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 and yes, I see you in all that you are and all that you can be, and I love you. What if we could look at the person next to us, whether it's someone we have known for years or someone that we have never met, and say yes, and yes, you are different from me, and we are here together, here tonight and here in a shared mission and vision for what our community and our world can be. Because we do. We live in a lonely and a fractured world. We live shallowly in a world of ore, a world of 140 characters where it seems more important to be right than kind, a world where it seems more important to be sure than truthful, a world where it seems more important to be perfect than good. We live in a world of misconnections. And yet we're here, on the cusp of a new year, looking for a second or third or 50th chance to connect, to live our lives fully, to live our lives differently. And this place, this space, this community, it is and it can be and it must be in this world a space of and. This can and must be the place, the space, the community wide enough to receive us in all of our complexities, in our loneliness and our love, in our joys and our sorrows, in our todays and our tomorrows. What would it look like to say yes and to community? To say, yes, I am busy. I am parenting, I am working, I am grandparenting, and I need Shabbat. Yes, I am overwhelmed. I am building, I am traveling, I am teaching, and I want to learn. Yes, I am tired. I am stuck in traffic. I am overworked. I am struggling. And I want to make time for something beyond myself. Synagogue life. Life here offers a million ways to mend misconnections, a million ways to connect. There are as many ways to say and as there are people in this sanctuary and more. So what do you want to say yes to this year? And how can we help you say yes and? I left New York's lovely winters and temperate summers, the spacious homes and uncrowded streets of Manhattan, because this place, this synagogue, with its illustrious history and future potential, wants to say yes and. I came because your rabbis and cantors, your educators and your lay leaders presented a vision of a place that can bridge divides, can embrace challenges, and celebrate complexity. I came because I want to do that work with you. I want to help forge connections and deepen relationships. I came to Stephen Wise because I believe deeply in the power of and in communities which embrace it and celebrate it and understand that we are stronger in it. We are stronger when we are whole. We are stronger when we are together. So this new year, no more misconnections, no more yes, but, no more either or. Hineni, here I am, and here you are, and here we are, ready, willing, together, and Shana Tova.